Good morning. President Park Geun-hye hosts a banquet following her return from Germany last week with renewed conviction for reunification. We'll hear what she had to say. General Motors CEO Mary Barra extends her sincere apology and promises GM will do the right thing at a congressional hearing at Capitol Hill. But will it ever win trust back? Deregulation is on the move. Outdated and disputed regulations are being looked at as we speak, but differing opinions come into play. And for those on the go, these vending machines may be the convenient way to print pictures and even score a quick lunch. On Korea Today, Wednesday, April 2nd, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good morning. Welcome to Korea Today on this Wednesday morning. I'm Ju alongside Kim Byung-joo and Kim Young.
Okay, I want to start this morning off by pulling out a little map and a question to help jog your brain. We're going to get that up there for you. Now take a look at this. And this is a PISA sample question. We'll hear more about it, but the map shows the travel time in minutes on each section of road. So figure this out. Now, Julio lives in Silver, Maria lives in Lincoln, and young Kim lives in Nobel. They all want to meet in a suburb on the map. No one wants to travel for more than 15 minutes.
Wow.
Where should they meet?
Where should they meet? I just don't even get the question, let alone have an answer to that question. Well, this was part of an international survey of students assessing their creative problem-solving skills. We'll get to those results in a minute. But first, let us begin with our top story. President Park Geun-hye says visiting Germany and seeing how it has transformed after its unification has reaffirmed her conviction in the reunification of the two Koreas. The remarks came at a dinner banquet Tuesday hosted by the president for the heads of the country's overseas diplomatic missions.
평화 통일은 시대적 사명일 뿐만 아니라 우리 민족은 물론이고 동북아 전체에 평화와 번영을 가져올 것입니다. 앞으로 한반도의 평화 통일을 이루기 위해 모든 역량을 집중해야 할 것이고 이를 위해서는 외교의 역할과 도움이 중요합니다.
There was no mention of the exchange of fire with North Korea from the day before, which analysts believe reflects her commitment to unification despite Pyongyang's provocations. She also asked the 290 attending diplomats to support Korean businesses and young entrepreneurs make inroads into the overseas markets to help Korea take another economic leap forward.
The world's #1 smartphone maker, Samsung Electronics, has something to celebrate as the company's net profit has dramatically increased in the last 5 years. According to data compiled by the Korea Exchange, the tech giant reaped in 30.4 trillion won, or roughly $29 billion last year, up a near 28% from 2012, and accounting for nearly 50% of net profits posted by firms listed on the Kospi. The company also saw an increase in sales by about 14% from the year before, recording 228 trillion won, or $215 billion, and its operating profits jumped a near 27%. Meanwhile, data also showed earnings by the country's listed companies fell nearly 4.4% amid the global economic slowdown.
And you saw a sample, but not so simple question to jog your brain this morning. Well, that was just one of the questions that 85,000 students from 44 regions around the world had to take for the OECD's Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA, in 2012. The results came out, and Korean 15-year-olds, along with Singaporeans, were found to be the brightest when it comes to problem-solving skills. Japanese students followed closely, along with other Asian regions, including China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. Among the Korean teenagers who took the test, boys outscored the girls by 13 points, which is higher than the OECD gender difference average. The survey, which was computer-based this time, tests how well students can tackle real-life problems.
Undoubtedly, one of the greatest problems people face when they're injured or fall victim to a disease is the medical costs that pile up at an exponential pace. To help alleviate this burden, the government has been pushing to increase coverage of its national health insurance, introducing more eligible fields last month. But there's a crucial element that patients believe will have a major impact on how much they will have to pay out of pocket. Our producer, Lee Ji-yeon, has more.
Bedridden for almost 2 weeks now, 73-year-old Choi Jung-seok recently received surgery for a fractured femur after tripping and falling, with another 1 or 2 weeks to go in the hospital. Although other medical expenses are covered by his national health insurance, he would have had to pay out an average $70 to $80 a day to hire his own caretaker. Something he already experienced when he had surgery for stomach cancer 3 years ago. But this time, it's different. Choi is receiving 24-hour care by Inha University Hospital's comprehensive nursing program, a trial service provided to some 200 patients with aid from the government.
I actually think a great service like this came too late because it's really that big of a help. From a patient's point of view, not only when it comes to the issue of money, but also the burden it can put on the family members. It is immensely helpful.
The hospital hopes this will become a full-fledged program after receiving great feedback from patients and wants the government to take a more proactive step in providing support. Providing your own caretaker is a glaring problem unique to Korea when it comes to medical costs. Because the national health insurance funds fall short and cannot afford to offer coverage for hospital nursing, families need to take turns at the bedside or hire a caretaker instead. It's one of the 3 areas the government is struggling with as it pushes forward with its aggressive expansion of national health insurance coverage. The other 2 are related to hospital room costs and optional consultation with specialist doctors. The government has set out to be more inclusive when it comes to payment for 4 major high-acuity diseases, a pledge made by President Park Geun-hye herself. The 4 being cancer, heart diseases, cerebrovascular, and rare incurable diseases, which roughly 1.6 million people suffer from, according to numbers from 2012. Last year, to kick off this program, the government added 25 categories eligible for coverage, with goals to add another 90 this year. The Health Ministry expects this will save patients a total of over $500 million this year. The roadmap laid out as of now is to expand those categories so that 95.7% of all fields will receive coverage, meaning individuals will shoulder only 5 to 10% of the entire cost. But patients say without the 3 most crucial areas, such as nursing expenses included, the benefits patients receive will be limited. Some believe without changing the entire healthcare system, the solutions will be short-lived.
I think the government shouldn't take the back seat, saying we'll take it slow since the public doesn't want an increase in national health insurance costs. The government is the one driving the policy, so they should encourage both the people and companies to share the burden and make sure there's a larger budget so that people can receive coverage for all the medical expenses.
But in the meantime, for patients like Choi Jung-seok, a watchful eye that gives him greater peace of mind is something he thinks all patients should benefit from. Lee Ji-yeon for Korea Today.
Good morning. Now let's run through the front pages of your newspapers, and we have a variety of stories this morning. We'll begin with 중앙일보 here. We'll take a look at this picture, and the headline says, drone that crashed in Paju was filming Cheongwade, the presidential office. So on Monday afternoon, an unidentified unmanned aerial vehicle equipped with a digital camera was found on Baenyeongdo Island. Now, just 1 week before that discovery, another crashed drone that you see in this picture here, also with a digital camera, was found over in Paju of Gyeonggi-do province near the demilitarized zone. And the Korean military sources said that both the military and the intelligence service are assuming the drone could have been spying on South Korea for the North. And as the headline suggests, the drone found in Paju had some Korean words on it using North Korean spelling, which also suggests the drone is from the north. And the drone was carrying a digital camera, as I mentioned earlier, and images on it showed the drone had followed a route from central Seoul through the Gupabal area, which is in northeastern Seoul, to Paju, which is where it was found. Now, it took photos of major landmarks in central Seoul, including Cheongwade, the presidential office. And over on to Gyeongyang Shinmun, there's the other image here of the other drone that was found on Monday afternoon. And the picture title says, "Unidentified drone drops on Baenyeongdo Island the day the two Koreas trade fire." Now, the military has collected the vehicle and they're in the middle of a probe. And given that it crashed the same day that Pyongyang fired off hundreds of shells in the direction of the northern limit line, they are assuming that the aerial vehicle probably originated in North Korea. And going on to 동아일보 for a look at this headline regarding some words from North Korea. The headline says, North Korea scoffs at President Park's Dresden overture. And a day after exchanging artillery fire across the sea border, North Korea hurled insults at the South, rejecting the ambitious overture from President Park in her speech made in Dresden, Germany. And so yesterday, the state-controlled North Korean Nodong Shinmun scoffed at President Park's speech, saying her overture was full of deception and was aimed at destroying the North Korean leadership. And in the meantime, South Korea replied with the strategy of showing no response, unwilling to fall for North Korea's intentions. And let's go on to 조선일보 now for a look at this headline on the side. And it's regarding Japan. And the headline says, Japan relaxes restrictions on weapons export. The Japanese government discarded a half-century self-imposed ban on weapons and military hardware exports just yesterday, taking the nation another step away from its post-war pacifism. The decision, which had been under consideration for years before Prime Minister Shinzo Abe took office, replaced the self-imposed ban dating back to 1967 with new, still restrictive guidelines that permit the export of arms only to allies and partners that agree not to sell them to third nations without Japanese approval. And the paper adds that this change is expected to open doors for new markets for Japanese defense companies. And last but not least, we'll go on to some local business news here on the Korea Economic Daily. And regarding the convention entertainment belt here in Seoul, the headline says Seoul to build convention and entertainment belt stretching from COEX to Jamsil Sports Complex. So Seoul City has announced plans to establish a convention belt in southern Seoul as part of the city's efforts to boost the convention industry. The city plans to set up convention centers and facilities in the area from Jamsil Sports Complex in southeastern Seoul to COEX in southern Seoul, and the convention belt will be developed into not only a convention mecca, but also an entertainment complex with shopping malls, game centers, and leisure and sports facilities. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Wednesday, and coming up are the stock numbers from Tuesday.
Time now to get a check on the weather. Midday highs are well in their 20s these days. I say it's time for some water fun. What do you think?
That's right, and there is a water fountain that just was activated in Gwanghwamun Square. Chun Song-chul joins us from the heart of the capital for a look.
For some water fun this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I'm reporting live from Gwanghwamun Square in Jongno-gu, Seoul. And here you see a pop jet water fountain on the ground, which was activated yesterday for the first time this year. Yesterday's midday high was 23 degrees, and with this water fountain at full blast, it offered a perfect setting for people to walk around the square and admire the beautiful weather, sunny and warm. It's a favorite spot for kids kids as well who love to play in the water when the weather permits. So you can expect to see this area getting a lot more crowded as temperatures move up even more in the future. So yes, this past week has been definitely too warm to be called spring with this warm spell. In fact, last month turned out to be the warmest March in Seoul for record in 106 years. Well, that's pretty warm. And so today will be a continuation of this unseasonable summer-like weather. So for more details, let's take a closer look at today's temperature readings. Seoul's highs are 22, Daegu and Gwangju the warmest at 23, and Busan and Jeju the coolest at 19 degrees Celsius. Look at those big differences between the highs and lows, showing up to 14-degree gap. Tomorrow's forecast calls for spring showers in parts of the country with lots of clouds, and this will slightly bring down the temperatures, moving closer to the annual average. That's all for me, reporting live from Gwanghwamun Square. Back to you, Min-jung, in the studio.
Ooh, the hottest season in more than 100 years. Wow. Well, a new development in the East-West tensions over in Ukraine. NATO foreign ministers have effectively turned their back on Russia. For a closer look at this story and other global headlines we're following at this hour, we'll turn to Eunice Kim, standing by at the news center. Good morning, Eunice. What's the latest?
And good morning to you, Min-jung. Right, Tuesday, NATO foreign ministers held the first of their two-day meeting in Brussels, and already they've announced NATO would suspend their cooperation with Russia for its annexation of Ukraine's Crimea. NATO's chief Anders Fogh Rasmussen called the takeover the greatest threat to European security this generation, and that there simply could not be business as usual. The suspension would apply to practical civilian and military cooperation, though a door to dialogue is left open with the NATO-Russia Council, which handles security issues and joint projects.
It is a political mess, but it looks like every day Ukrainians are also feeling the pinch. They've been hit with a huge hike in their gas bills.
That's right, and feeling the pinch they are. Ukraine has relied on a big discount on their gas supply from Russia, negotiated by Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych. But of course, with him now ousted, Russia's Gazprom announced it will scrap that discount and charge what amounts to 43% more for their gas. But that's not where the trouble ends, Min-jung. Ukraine's unpaid gas bills to Russia right now stands at $1.7 billion.
I'm sure the Ukrainians want this whole thing to be over as soon as possible. Let's now turn to Washington, D.C. Just within the past few hours, U.S. car maker GM's chief was in the hot seat for the company's very delayed response to a deadly parts defect.
And of course, we're talking about the flawed ignition switches that GM has said killed at least 13 people. That figure could be much higher. It took General Motors more than 10 years to publicly recognize the defect, with recalls beginning just this year with new CEO Mary Barra at the helm. And U.S. lawmakers did grill Barra on why it took so long for the auto giant to move on with the problem, and why time and time again they used the ignition switches that they apparently knew did not meet company standards. And during the hearing, Barra said she found disturbing employee statements that suggested concerns over cost cutting may have been part of that problem. Meanwhile, GM's recalls continue, with a total number of cars recalled nearing 7 million this year alone. It called back some 1.3 million vehicles earlier this week to fix a problem in their power steering.
Looks like they will be in trouble. Now, turning our attention to Japan, the first batch of Fukushima residents have received the all clear to return home. Tell us about this.
That's right. It's been a little over 3 years now since the triple disaster, historic earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear reactor meltdown. And on midnight Monday, some 355 residents of the Miyakochi district were allowed back to their homes. That area is some 20 kilometers from the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant and at the edge of the exclusion zone. So this is certainly the first of that group there. Around 138,000 Fukushima prefecture residents still remain in temporary housing, and several of those communities still remain as ghost towns. And that wraps your look at the international headlines we're following this morning.
And still ahead on Korea Today, what are some of the focal points of discussion here in Korea these days? We look at the hot topic of deregulation. Why have some regulations currently in place been likened to cancer? We look at this wave of deregulation with Doctor Kim Byung-joo. Stay tuned.
And whether it be on a canvas or on a stage, there are those classics, and there's also ones that are considered a bit abstract. And our Im Yoon-hee joins us with a couple of performances which actually have a several decades long history, and they started off abstract, but are on the way to becoming classics, right? Good morning.
Exactly. Good morning. So pretty much there are no rules when it comes to theater, but there are boundaries, we'll say, that most people recognize. However, not all. And so today, I have a couple performances that require a little bit of an open mind. But as surprising as they might be, they've been around for, as Young said, decades. And so that says a lot in this industry. So let's take a look.
4 chairs, 4 actors. Seems simple enough. The stage is always ready for imaginative ideas. This play pushes the actors, as well as the audience members, beyond their comfort zones, with a waterfall of curse words, as well as actual water as well. It's been on the stage for 40 years, keeping audience members hooked with its cheeky comedy.
During this show, as we keep hearing curse words, I began to want to curse along with them and release stress, as they seem to do on stage while cursing.
It's a really famous show, so I came to watch it. It's very different from other performances, so it requires a little bit more patience and understanding. But overall, I think this kind of show is fun.
But there's another way to push the borders of comfort. In 1975, the original cast for Ekis included Choi Min-sik and Cho Jae-hyun, along with many other star actors. And almost 35 years later, it's back on the stage with a new cast. But this time around, the young members are met with a challenge of acting out this play completely in the nude.
It took a long time and great effort to make this performance. But I can't direct all of the work I've put into creating this performance.
These plays have stood the test of time, something notable in this line of work. Although they may be on the outside of what may seem normal in the theater, they have proven to be entertaining for both the audience as well as the artists themselves.
Logically, drama should be easy to understand while pushing boundaries. There can be different styles that have a sense of the modern. At the same time, they can bring fresh ideas to the stage. That's the way to keep a loyal audience for a long time.
So one performance, it pushes the bounds on what's said verbally, right? And pushes the limits of language, right? And the second one, it pushes the boundaries of nudity. Now, what's the idea? What's the opinions of the people that go and watch?
Of nudity in theater, exactly. So nudity isn't necessarily new to the theater. It's been around for as long as people can remember, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's still not shocking for most people, especially here in Korea. But there has been a recent trend in this nudity on the stage. For instance, recently we've seen an opera, Rigoletto, that has some nude scenes here at the Seoul Arts Center. And at first people were very concerned, but it has been very well received by the audience. And so we'll just have to see where that goes. And now we have Ekis, which is another play with some nude scenes. So we'll just see where that nudity goes.
Okay, so a lot of these performances, they are pushing the boundaries on the verbal barrier as well as the nudity barrier. But of course, parental discretion advised. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
And still ahead on Korea Today, we're going to be looking at some vending machines that offer something a little bit different from the norm. They are omnipresent on street corners and in buildings, but recently these unmanned machines are popping out more diverse products and showing a sharp growth trend. We take machines pushing coffee, photos, and even hot pizza and mandu out.
We could surely use some mandu right now.
Yes, you can.
Well, it's time to take a look at the issues that were hot online yesterday on News Sum Up.
First, let's find out the top 5 keywords of the day. Now, topping the list is an unmanned drone crashing on Baenyeongdo Island. Actor Lee Byung-hun cast in Terminator 5, and we also have Kim Yeon-na's farewell program.
So this unidentified drone crashed on Baenyeongdo Island yesterday after the two Koreas exchanged fire near the island's coast earlier in the day. Now, the military was said to be investigating.
And Seoul's defense ministry said the unmanned drone was discovered around 4 p.m. on Monday, and the military has since taken the drone in for a detailed investigation. Now, many experts are saying at this point that the drone is suspected to be a reconnaissance plane from North Korea.
If it is found to be North Korea's, it's not the first time the North had deployed an unmanned drone to Baenyeongdo Island and Yeonpyeongdo Island as well in the past after firing artillery shells towards the NLL in the West Sea near the Yeonpyeongdo Island in August 2010. It's also been reported that the drone found yesterday is similar to the one found last month in a mountain near Paju, Gyeonggi-do province.
That's right. Internet users recalled the photographs of the presidential office of Cheongwade and parts of Seoul stored on the camera of the drone found in Paju and called for a thorough investigation into the connection between these two aircrafts.
A big mystery there, but let's talk about something lighter now. Talk about Lee Byung-hun and his growing presence in Hollywood that have drawn much attention.
That's right. Reports said yesterday that actor Lee Byung-hun was cast to star in the next sequel in the Terminator film series. According to his agency, his casting on the 5th Terminator movie was confirmed in February, although his role in this film has yet to be decided. Now, online users showed support for the actor whose presence has been growing in Hollywood through films like the G.I. Joe series and Red 2 The Legend, expressing hope that this latest casting would help him get closer to the global stardom.
Once everything is decided, he is expected to start filming sometime in early May, and film insiders note that he seems to have scored a pretty pivotal role in this movie. It's expected to hit the theaters sometime around July of next year. I'm really, really excited
so
about
we'll
this.
have to wait until next year. So, to see this Korean actor make this opportunity to become a true world star is what we're looking forward to. And that's it for today's news sum up. Next up is today's sports headlines with SJ Lee. With the AFC Champions League in full swing, the K-League Classic, which was once a powerhouse in Asia, is being quickly caught up by the Chinese Super League. To find out why, SJ Lee joins us in the studio. Good morning, SJ.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Now, recently, manager Choi Kang-hee of the Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors recently came out saying that, well, the Chinese Super League has recently caught up with the K-League Classic and that they're no longer the same. And you can kind of see that from the results of some of these AFC Champions League group stage matches where Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors were crushed by Guangzhou Evergrande, and other K-League Classic teams are struggling to beat these Chinese clubs. And while a few years back, the Korean clubs dominated the AFC Champions League, you're no longer seeing this these days.
Now, how is this possible in such a short period of time?
Now, here's the thing. The K-League Classic teams, they're basically run by corporations or they're run by the city. So there's like a limit to the budget and I guess the money that they're allowed to use for these players, whereas the Chinese Super League has many of these teams run privately. So a lot of these Chinese teams are starting to invest a ton of money to bring in some of the top talents in the world. In fact, we see some former K-League players like Dejan Damjanovic, who played so well with FC Seoul, move over to China. And we even saw players like Didier Drogba, who played for teams like Shanghai. And since their league has more money, you're going to have more talent. Hence, we're seeing the Chinese Super League teams do so well in these international matches.
But the recent decline in talent here in the K-League, it doesn't really necessarily mean that there isn't talented players in the league.
Exactly. I mean, currently what's going on is actually a blessing and a curse right now because there are so many talented players here in the nation that they're actually going abroad to overseas to play football. And this is actually at the same time, the downfall of the K-League Classic as well. So, like I said, you have so many talented players who choose to go overseas to like England, Spain, or Germany. So you have less and less domestic players in the league. So if you remember guys like Ki Sung-young and Park Ji-young who actually once played for FC Seoul before they moved to overseas, and they have guys like Son Heung-min playing in Germany, you have the national team getting better and better each year, but the domestic league is actually suffering from this as well.
Well, does this, I have a question for you. Does this mean that the K-League here in Korea is sort of just a proving ground for and a gateway so Korean players can go overseas, and that's the ultimate goal? Because what's important is beefing up the K-League and making it popular and getting the crowds to come and getting those advertisers.
That's the thing, though. I mean, a lot of these players, some of the players actually go from the K-League to overseas teams, like I said, Ki Sung-young and also Park Ji-young. But some players actually go overseas at a young age before they hit the K-League. So you're seeing both sides as well.
Okay. Still a big fan of the K-League.
Exactly. Hopefully we'll be able to see more fans go out to the K-League matches.
Well, thank you, SJ, for this report.
Always a pleasure.
Deregulation seems to have been the key word for the last month and a half or so, with everyone scrambling for regulation reforms. And Dr. Kim Byung-joo joins us for a candid talk on this. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Indeed, good morning. Indeed, you're right on it. Deregulation is the concept that everybody seems to be preoccupied with in the government at this point. And so this morning we want to talk about some of the tricky and challenging side of this, what seems to be a very important task here. And let's start with how it all got a recent boost, which was the March 20th meeting. And this was something that we've never seen before. 7 hours straight, televised, live. And I was wondering whether those people didn't want to go to restrooms or whatever.
Or eat, for that matter.
I know, yeah. It was an incredible case we've never seen before. And what happened was, for 7 hours, 160 people, actually the size increased like 3 times from the initial planning itself. You know, business leaders and private citizens, as well as government ministers, together with the president, sitting down, talking about this issue of deregulation for 7 hours. And this was a very interesting experience, to say the least.
And this is when the business leaders could come and ask questions directly to the president and get some real answers. And she even put some of the ministers on the spot, too.
They were not having a great time, the ministers.
Exactly. And then one of the issues that came up was the food truck operation that got deregulated. Tell us about this.
Yeah, the food truck regulation itself got deregulated. We know it's going ahead forward, but there will be some other, controversies and discussion about that particular regulation itself. But looking at the overall picture, what happened was, for 7 hours, they talked about 52 different kind of regulations. So it makes sense, about 15 minutes each, I suppose. And what they decided to do was to deregulate 41 out of this 52. And out of 41, 27 cases will be deregulated during the first half of this year. So that's pretty much a fast pace.
Half of all the problems that were raised.
Right, indeed. And another 14, they're saying they're going to get rid of them by the end of the year. We'll see. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But some of the very interesting regulations, such as you guys are very familiar with these concept of active acts for computer protection, and what do they call it? Authentication certificates that we save in the USBs and stuff.
Right. When you want to purchase things online.
Those became very controversial, and they say they're going to actually work on getting rid of those, so that for example, Chinese shoppers online can buy these products that they saw in Korean, Korean dramas and all that. So
Chansongi products, right?
Exactly.
The so-called from the movie, the drama My
You
Love
came
from
My Love from the Star.
Right, and Chinese shoppers wanted to buy this coat and clothing online, but they couldn't do that because they don't have that thing on their USB. So
the only sure way is if you have a citizen's number in your Korean.
Exactly. So in order to boost the overall business of Korea's online shopping, they want to go ahead with that. And also other deregulation issues such as allowing hotels to be built in nearby school areas. So far, they were not able to do so because these were adult facilities and all that kind of stuff. But that's going to be removed. So at all fronts, there will be deregulation drive that will be introduced altogether. The thing is, overall, I know you were going to ask this question, why regulation itself has become a problem these days.
Well, exactly,
right?
because when you think about it, all these laws, when they actually explain it and put it out in perspective, it does make sense. But at the same time, things change every now and then.
Right. Two things. Overall, things change every now and then, indeed. Once a regulation is set in place, they stay in place while the situation outside changes over time, right? That's a key thing. And another one is also what they call spaghetti ball of regulations, where the different positions of the ministries got entangled and they can't figure out the ways to deregulate, get out of this dilemma. And as a result of it, they're saying we have about 15,000 different regulations in place, which is about twice as many as compared to about 10 years ago. So this is indeed a big problem that we see
How
here.
do you keep track of all those, right?
Right. And the duty-free limit on overseas travelers has been marked as a regulation that requires review as well.
Right.
Now, what are...
That is a regulation that has been in place since 1988.
1988.
Yeah, and since then, Koreans were allowed to buy only up to $400 worth of foreign goods, and beyond that, we will have to pay the duty. And they're saying this is a way outdated regulation. But then again, there are a lot of controversies and discussions about that. There's another very controversial subject that is what we call game shutdown system for online games, computer games for the youth.
That's right.
That's right.
For adolescents.
Right, exactly. And for those kids, below age of 16, what happens is between the time of midnight until 6 a.m., they cannot access their games because the program shut down automatically. And this has become a big issue all around the nation. Game industry, for one, they're saying, well, we don't have an evidence whether this regulation actually could make an impact and difference. We need the data. And in addition, they're saying game industry is a very important industry for Korea as a whole, and we should not have this kind of regulation that chokes the overall industrial competition. And they're saying also there are all different ways to bypass this kind of regulations, kids using moms and fathers, dads' IDs, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah,
right.
Very controversial.
That's right. Of course, the gaming industry is going to say that, but the gender equality, the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family, they obviously have something else to say.
Indeed, Family Affairs Ministry, they're saying, well, we need more time, and this regulation has been in place only 2 years. And indeed, quantitatively, there are indications that the number of kids playing these games are indeed going down. So they say this regulation has to stay in place. So this is one area, a lot of different positions are colliding, two different positions are colliding against one another. And there's another one that has been very controversial for quite some time, which is the regulation about the big-size retail shops.
And not only controversial, very inconvenient, I must say, because you need to check on the schedules, which one's open and
sometimes you
which
go
one's
and they're closed.
Right, exactly. So every time I go shopping into this kind of big, discount stores, I have to check my own schedule and then compare it with the online schedule and that kind of stuff. And what's happening is the regulation itself says, first of all, to begin with, these kind of big-size retail stores cannot be set up within the radius of 1 kilometer of the traditional market.
That's right.
So their setup itself is limited. And also, as you mentioned, twice a month, they have to close down their business so that these traditional markets can enjoy their business. And there has been much debate about whether this is an effective regulation or not, whether this actually is creating opportunities and extra income for the traditional market, small shop owners and all that.
What do the proponents and opponents say about this?
Well, overall, they're saying those people who support this regulation, which is, by the way, about 85% of Korean public, and I suppose I belong to this very small minority minority, which is less than 15%, who believe this actually hurts the business of small business owners who supply these vegetables, for instance, daily products and all that kind of stuff to the big stores. But 85% of public who support this idea says, oh, this is something that we need. We need to protect our small business owners of the traditional market. So there is a complete clash between these two different positions. And I'm sure we need more time to sort out this big difference here.
In the meantime, we just have to bear with the blunt of this difficulty of keeping track of everything.
For me personally, I don't know how long.
Right.
All right, well, it seems that this drive towards deregulation is bringing a bit of optimism. Where's the government headed now?
Well, overall, this is a very big overdrive that we are looking at. To take a few examples, for instance, Land Ministry is saying they're going to get rid of as many as 30% of all the regulations that they have in their hands by June. And the Education Ministry, for one, they are setting up a special team to seek out actually the issue areas where they need the deregulation rather than just sitting back in their offices, wait for the feedback from the people. So that's an interesting initiative. And the Korean Forestry Service, for instance, they're going to review every single regulation that they have in their place, which amounts to about 400 of them from the zero base, and they're going to consider whether they should keep those in place or not.
Well, there are concerns of reckless reform measures, though. Tell us about those. Just give us a brief summary of that.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you have this kind of overdrive, there will be negative side impacts here. And what happens is we do know the regulation itself, many of the regulations are there for reasons, and the government is there to actually make up for what we call in economics classes market failures, market negative externalities. So main function for the government, one of the main functions of the government itself is to introduce smart regulation. So what we are concerned is a possibility where government in this extreme overdrive to getting rid of the regulations that we actually need. So the challenge ahead is sorting out the regulations that we need that serves the overall societal interest on one hand, and then figuring out the regulations that are there for no reason or unnecessary reasons as a result of different sectoral interests. So that's going to be a very important and challenging task for everybody. And so in coming months, we'll closely watch what happens, and hopefully in this segment, we will follow up with what's happening in this deregulation.
Let's do that.
It'll be very interesting to see these regulations evolve there. And thank you for pointing out the focal points for today, Dr. Kim.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Today on Hot Items, we're going to look at vending machines, mandu, pizza, coffee, you name it, they'll pop it out.
Yep, exactly. And Peter Bint and Angela Park joins us with that. Now over to you guys. Tell us what you have.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, vending machines, they're a very convenient way, right, Peter, to get different types of things, but we're talking it's unmanned, obviously, so you don't have to deal with the people, not to mention tends to be cheaper, but we're seeing a big growth in the domestic vending machine industry in terms of a lot of variety of products.
That's right, because traditionally speaking, vending machines were all about drinks or foods, things like coffee or some soft drinks, and also perhaps at a stretch some snacks. But these vending machines that we've got for you today are very unusual. There are also other ones that sell cosmetics and even travel packages, right?
Right. So for Hot Items, we're going to be taking a look at maybe some not so conventional vending machines. We have 3 to be specific. So should we get started?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, I'll go first because it's the bigger one.
Yes, it looks fantastic.
Let's move to this side. This is from Kukje Engineering, and it's called the Ati Pizza, as you can see written right here.
Wow.
Now, I'm trying to get out of the way so that we could show our viewers here. There's pizza, there's mandu, there's also burgers that you can choose from. Now, the key is this is the nation's first pizza vending machine. Oh,
And then, so let me step off to the side and let me put in your order first, Peter,
Let's
so
get
that
my order.
I can
Okay.
explain it. If you would mind grabbing right behind there some money.
What do you want? You want a hamburger?
Who doesn't like a pizza, right?
Right, pizza. Everyone loves pizza, especially this early in the morning,
for
maybe.
breakfast, yes.
So I'm gonna put in the money right here.
Uh-huh.
And so
And it's going to come out cooked.
yes, it's gonna come out cooked. Oh, it's
Wow.
rejecting my money.
You gotta put in real
This is
money.
the fun. Remember, like when you were a kid, you had to straighten
the
out the
fun part.
dollars, right? But so let me try it again. Please stay. There we go.
Yes, it's real money.
So we have today options for you. We have the potato bacon and tomato mozzarella. Which one would you like?
I'm going to have to go original. Tomato and mozzarella, please.
Tomato
Yes.
and mozzarella. So as that cooks, there's a LCD screen here that gives you a timer, but just to let you know, the pizza is stored in -18 degrees Celsius place, keeping it very much frozen. And then it's moved to the cooking area where it depends what pizza you order, but roughly about 50 seconds for it to thaw and cook,
From
right?
frozen to cooked in just 50 seconds.
That's right.
unbelievable.
So as it cooks, I'm going to take out this pizza here and move it back up onto this space.
This is ready. But you know, some people have some concerns over sanitary in vending machines, you know,
That's a
whether it's
really
going to
good
go off
point.
or something.
That's a really good point. So the thing is that, like I mentioned, it is frozen, so that part you can trust, but obviously, even frozen foods, you don't want it in there too long,
Sure.
right? So the machine, it only keeps foods or pizzas or burgers that are about 30 days. Anything after that, it's out. Not to mention, there are food safety marks, as you can see on this box even of pizza right here. And so it's to ensure that you get fresh, hygienic food.
Great.
Can
So
we see
there's-
the pizza already?
Yes, so it's very easy. They've made it where you just open the box like so, and then you just kind of peel this open, right?
Lovely.
Okay, maybe it's not as easy right now. Now I'm getting nervous. But then you rip it, and if you see you pull it out like this.
It's a rectangle-shaped
Yeah,
pizza too.
but it's easy to eat because you just rip the cardboard like this as you take bites. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And then you just keep pulling it out.
It
like
looks
so.
delicious, but I think, can I try a bit?
Sure, do you want to?
I
The
do
taste
want
test,
to
Peter-
because I am a
Peter, try
little
it.
bit
Tell us how it is.
I'll eat anything.
Peter was telling me before the show he's on a diet, but this is like temptation for him. Right?
And it's good. It's really good. It's actually better than the pizzas you get from the corner shop, right?
Convenience stores.
That you put in the microwave.
Right,
Why does
right.
it taste so good?
Well, it uses a rapid heating system. I mean, first of all, it takes only 50, roughly, depending, like I said, on the pizza, but roughly 50 seconds to cook, right? So it's kind of come up with a way to retain the moisture, the nutrients, and the flavor in the pizza so you can enjoy something quick and convenient.
Fantastic, yeah. And then, like you said, there's mandu there and burgers as well.
Yeah,
There's
exactly.
everything.
So,
Can you pull out a mandu, just real quick?
can you give me money?
You need to pay for it.
You
yeah.
need to change for that? That was a 10,000 won bill.
It's not 10,000 won, it's 2,000 won for the pizza.
Okay.
But anyway, so that was our at the pizza machine.
All right, now moving on to my
Okay.
vending machine. First, let's take a selfie together, Angie.
Oh,
Selfies
really?
are all the rage, right?
We're doing that now.
We are going to do it live on air.
Okay.
And I want a nice,
My
cute
hair.
face. I've got the
Okay.
angle.
Oh, how cute.
Oh, that looks
Kimchi.
terrible. Anyway, so with this machine, this is a smartphone photo printer by June Systems called Photo Hub. From your smartphone directly, without any wires or anything like that, you can print out your photos on
wow.
here. So what you need to do is connect it to the machine by downloading an application.
Of course, because these days it's all about the application.
So you choose the smartphone mode, and then you hook it up to the Wi-Fi of Photo Hub.
Okay.
So this emits a Wi-Fi connection, and then you simply just choose the photos that you want to upload, and it's really quick.
So you're choosing the photo that we just took right now.
Yeah, and some ones we took earlier when we
Okay.
weren't looking so good.
Yeah, when I was half sleeping.
Push send, and it says transmitting now, and the photos
wow.
are literally up there straight away. Okay. And then,
It's very quick.
yeah, you push next, and you choose whichever ones you want to print. Yeah.
This reminds me of, remember when you were younger, I think they still have it, but the sticker picture machines, right? That you have to decorate with your
Yes.
friends and little add writing and stuff
But
like that.
what is great about this is photos that you've taken from before you can upload onto here and choose
right,
to
right.
print them. And just like those photo stickers, you can also use lots of decoration. So why don't we go decorating this one with some stamps,
Oh no,
okay?
you're gonna put like a hat on me or something?
Absolutely. Okay, so give it a try, and you just touch anywhere on the screen.
Well, I like
Choose
squirrels.
Okay.
So.
And then just touch where you want to put it, and they'll come falling in like. Look at that! Isn't that beautiful?
It's raining squirrels.
and then we'll have some angels, perhaps.
Okay. Oh, so you can create kind of a frame. I see.
And then you can put all these little hearts everywhere.
Okay. Let's go ahead and cover my face.
Yes, that looks much better, right? And then once you've finished, you push apply, and you can do obviously serious photos as well. Not that this one is very serious, but you can use them for ID photos.
I see a calendar option as well.
Calendar, yeah. So you can print out that month.
Oh, Peter, you look really great in that
Fantastic. Apply. But for serious photos as well, say, Angie, you need a passport photo.
Okay.
It's fantastic. It does lots of different sizes.
So it gives you the passport photo size, because obviously it has to be very specific, right?
Yeah, and it has on here the options for a US visa, for a driver's license and things like that, US immigration.
Oh.
So then you just choose where I'm not sure you're allowed to do V signs in the immigration photo itself.
I don't think you can do that in your passport photos.
But let's push apply, and then it's super quick. Once we push print, it takes only about 11 seconds for the photos to come out, and the quality is really good. So why don't we give that a try?
Okay. So this is great. I mean, obviously it's entertaining to do with your friends and edit your photos this way, but at the same time, sometimes we don't have the time to go to a professional studio and a quick fix way to get a quick profile picture for your passport.
And it's very cost efficient. It's just 1,000 won, which is just around $1 for 3 4x6-inch photos.
Okay.
And if we see, it's coming out now.
That's actually cheaper than some of the passport photo booths in like subway stations and stuff.
Absolutely, yes. So here it comes.
There we go. That was quick.
And look at that, Angie.
Aww.
See?
Oh, I
Perfect
like that
picture
one.
quality.
Okay, very nice. So there we go. That was our first photo.
Yeah, and this is, like I said, used with any smartphone which has Wi-Fi connection. You don't need any wires, right?
Okay. Well, great. Now, as we finish
Let's
waiting
get a look at the coffee machine. I've been looking at that for a long time.
We need to smell the coffee in the studio.
They're very tired. Now this is a smart coffee vending machine. That's the key here. It is smart. Everything's smart these days, right?
But this looks like an average normal vending machine. You've got loads of coffee ones.
Except what, Peter? There's
there are no buttons.
Right, because it uses smartphone technology. And this is from ETRI, and that's the Electronics and Telecommunications Research Institute, along with Teleworks. And they have created this for convenience purposes. You use your smartphone, because this is like our life these days, right? And similar to your photo hub, you need the application. So let me show you exactly how it works. You push I'm going to open up the application.
So you don't touch anything on the machine?
No, not at all.
You order through your smartphone?
So don't touch it. You're not allowed.
All right.
There's a search function, and it's going to search for a coffee vending machine that's nearest you. Obviously, this is the one nearest me.
Yeah.
So it shows you, not only does it show you where it is, but it also tells you if it's clean and hygienic. So I'm going to click on that one.
I hope it is clean and hygienic.
It is clean. It said it was clean. And then we're going to, so it shows you a map as well, which is very convenient. And then we're going to connect with it. Now, as it connects, I'm about to take your coffee order. So there's a variety you can choose from. Peter, what kind of coffee do you like?
I just like mine plain black coffee.
Plain black, okay.
Yes.
So we are going to go with an Americano, and you can add sugar and milk. Would you like maybe a little bit of sugar?
I'll have a little bit of sugar,
Okay,
please.
okay.
Just to see
Just a little bit, so control that exactly like so. And then there's a coffee to get your coffee, right? So you just push that machine, that button. Now, here's the NFC part. Do you know what NFC is, Peter?
I've heard about it, but what is it exactly?
We see a lot of more items using NFC. It's the near field communication. So obviously we're near here. I'm going to put my phone to the NFC sticker on the machine.
But how do you pay for it, Angie?
Well, here we go. We're going to use, it's working, right? Is it working?
I think so.
Okay.
I hope so. Oh, yes, something. Here it comes.
There you go. It's popping out.
So that's paid for it through your phone somehow?
Yes.
Wow.
It's using NFC. Similar to, you know, when you get on a bus and you put your smart card onto the bus thing. That's the same technology.
So it charges it to your phone, and then you don't need any change or any notes. That's okay.
Exactly.
And again, I'm sure it's going to be quick.
So there you go. Your coffee's coming out.
It looks good. It smells good.
I think Young, Minjung, and Jinju are going to want some coffee.
Yes, please. Can we order a latte and 2 Americanos?
Let me write this down.
Let me try it
and
first.
some mandu to go with.
Okay. It says I should try it.
How is it?
It's surprisingly good, yes.
Okay.
And ordered from your smartphone.
Very convenient,
What more could you ask for?
So those are some, you know, not conventional vending machines that are out in Korea using domestic technology.
Yeah, give it a try.
Very out of the box as well. Thank you so much. All right, that just about wraps up this edition of Korea Today on this Wednesday morning.
That's right. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's going to be a hot one today. See you back here tomorrow morning.
Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.